So welcome to the State of the Region meeting. It's our annual meeting and we're glad you're all here. Looks like we're going to have to get some extra chairs out, Mike, which is a wonderful thing. This is the 28th anniversary of the Commission on the Future of Northeast Mississippi. Thank you all for being here and taking the time to invest in our communities. The Commission is a major program of CREATE that we are very proud of. The Commission does many, many different things, creating unity among different communities, different regions, creating common goals, solving problems. Y'all are making a huge difference out there in our region. We're very thankful. Now, in your seat, you're going to see that you have today's program. Hold on to that because we'll be referring to that throughout our meeting today. Also, hot off the press, our 2022 annual report. You want to take time to look through that and see what an impact you have in our communities across our region. Kyle Smith is vice chair of the commission and he's a resident of Tippah County. He's going to give our invocation today. It'll then be followed by some amazing singers that we have from the Shannon High School. They'll be doing the national anthem, and then we'll be followed with Mr. Mike Claiborne, who'll be giving us an update on all the different projects that are going on with CREATE right now. So, Kyle, if you'll come and give our invocation. Thank you.
Would you please pray with me, please? Our Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful for this beautiful day, for this sunshine and these blue skies. And thank you, Lord, for the opportunity for us all to come together for this State of the Region meeting. Thank you for the leadership that's here in this room today, oh Lord. Thank you, God, for CREATE and for the Commission. Please continue to bless our efforts as we simply try to improve the quality of life in our region. And Lord, we thank you today for our educators, our teachers and our administrators, men and women who care about our children, who want them to learn and to have the very best in life. And Lord, we're thankful for the special bond that we have in our region between community and schools. And help us to find ways to continue to improve that special bond and strengthen it even further. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be Americans. Thank you for our great country. We pray for our leaders. We pray for peace here at home and peace in our world. Please pardon and forgive our sins, Lord, and guide us and direct us in all that we do. For it's in Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets crackled, the bombers singing, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you very much.
Amazing. Shannon High School's finest, right? Very well done. I am always tempted to say play ball, but I guess we're going to do a little bit of that. Thank you very much for making it a priority to be here today. Plenty of other places that you could have been this morning. All of you are busy, but you chose to be here, and we're very appreciative of that, and I think you're going to see that it was time well spent. GT and his team have put together a lineup, I believe, that's going to inspire you and I think give you some very solid ideas to take back to your community to help your community be a better place. I want to give you really 3 updates. First, you may have heard that we've been trying to build a building. Anybody heard about that? Well, we have been earnestly looking for a place for a new home for Create. Found what we thought was the greatest location, and through the leadership of Brian Wilson, who is our building chairman, developed a wonderful plan for a facility. Then, with Lisa Hawkins' leadership as our campaign chair, raised over $5 million for that project. And then, well, and that help was through many in this room, and we deeply thank you for that support. The only problem was what we thought was going to cost about $7 million. We couldn't keep under $10 million. And so the escalating construction costs, we just got caught right in that cycle when things just went crazy. And so our leadership, frankly, did not think it was appropriate for us to spend that amount of money on a building as nice as it was. And in what some have called divine intervention, we were presented an opportunity by David Rumbarger, his staff, and the CDF board to become a partner in the CDF building. And I'm really pleased to tell you today that we have reached an agreement to occupy the entire second floor, 8,100 square feet at the building, and share about 6,000 square feet on the first floor with the boardroom, et cetera. This actually will give us access to more space than we were going to have in the new building. Here, about 14,000 square feet. So we will be able to accomplish this with the commitments that we've raised. I mentioned we've raised over $5 million and access to some other funding at Create. We will be able to complete this project. I have to caution you, though, this is not permanent. Our agreement is only for 107 years. So I think maybe even Lewis and I may be retired by then. So, but I can tell you we are excited about it. It is a great opportunity and wonderful space. We expect the renovations on the second floor to begin around July. Hopeful to be in the building by around the end of the year, and so this is a really good thing for Create and what we do. So I wanted to give you an update on that. You know, this last year, Create celebrated its 50th anniversary, and I want to give you just a quick snapshot of some of the numbers on charitable giving in part of that time. In 2000, 28 years after the founding of Create in 1972, we had assets of just over $28 million. At the end of 2022, we had assets of $145 million. Now, we had actually hit 167 million, but a little something happened during 2022 that shaved a little bit off of those numbers. But I'm glad to say we're back over $150 million now and starting to climb back up. In addition to the assets, contributions, which that's an important metric that we look at because that's money generally that's coming through CREATE to support good things all over our 17-county region. And so just to reflect back again to 2000, for the entire year we had contributions of $2.2 million. At the end of 2022, for that year, we had contributions of $15.1 million. And then moving on to looking at the number of funds that we have, in 2000 we had 335 total funds. That's endowment funds, donor advised funds, special projects, our affiliates. We ended 2022 with 996. I'm not sure why we couldn't have pushed that to 1,000, Lisa, by then, but we're over 1,000 now. So it gives you an indication of the breadth of partnerships that we have throughout our 17 counties, and literally it is all through the region. But you know, these are just numbers. We're proud of them. They show progress. They show people are supporting and buying in to CREATE as a vehicle for their charitable giving. But I think more than anything else, it shows that people care about our region, and it, in I think, a pretty significant way, makes our region a better place to live. And so I want to thank you. As I look across the audience, many of you are actively involved in supporting CREATE, and we thank you for that. On Friday, March the 24th, and there's quite a number of people in this room that alarm bells go off when we say that day, our region had a sobering reminder of how things can change in the blink of an eye. A devastating tornado hit Amory and Monroe County that night. We certainly have had some significant tornadoes since that time. One that came through Tupelo and disrupted the jobs of 1,700 people at Cooper Tire. Thankfully, they're in the process of pulling that back together. Tornadoes that took lives in Pontotoc County and Prentiss County and other destruction. And certainly anytime there's a loss of life, it's a terrible thing. But you know, the tornado that hit Amory and Monroe County, and you're seeing some photos that from the devastation there, it literally changed the face of a community for a long period of time. And it's particularly important to me. All of Northeast Mississippi is important to me, but I grew up in Amory, and so to see the devastation there is just heartbreaking. But you know, there's no quick fix to this. But however, the response to this disaster has been nothing short of remarkable. I mean, within hours, city and county officials, local power companies, healthcare facilities, churches, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, United Way was on scene helping people in need. And it's just stories after stories after stories of people being helped by people they had never seen in their life. You know, and another thing, within just a few days, 8 Days of Hope that started right here in Tupelo, Mississippi, was on the ground with over 800 volunteers. And by the way, they're coming back in August and September to start helping do a rebuild. A long-term recovery committee is in the process of being formed. That should be announced, I think, very soon. And that's going to provide the framework for things to move forward. But as a part of the response to this devastation, CREATE and United Way very quickly set up the Amory-Monroe County Disaster Relief Fund. CREATE committed $100,000 to that fund at the first. We also have a Panther Restoration Fund that's specifically for the Amory schools. And then also a Mississippi Bankers Fund has been set up to provide support not only in Amory-Monroe County, but a broader area. And just to show you how people come together in Northeast Mississippi, I am very pleased to tell you today that over $1 million has been committed to the Amory-Monroe County Tornado Relief Fund. Well, again, thank you for being here today, and thank you for being a partner of CREATE that helps CREATE do what it does, and all of us and our communities across the region work to make our area a better place to live. So thank you very much for your time today, and I think our chair, Bill Rennick, is up next.
Good morning. Once again, thank you all for being here, taking your time out of your schedule to share this day with us. As Lisa pointed out, the Commission on the Future of Northeast Mississippi was created, no pun intended, was established in 1995. Our mission for the past 28 years has always been to advocate and promote unity and cooperation in community development in this region. Regional community development is not just one or two specific initiatives. Our focus has been multifaceted and includes raising the per capita income of our citizens, increasing educational attainment, helping build a diverse economy through things like accelerating the construction of 4-lane highways, developing local leaders, and improving race relations, along with the guarantee of a community college education through the Tuition Guarantee Program. We have been very vocal in our support of dropout prevention, districts of innovation opportunities for our schools, and the expansion of broadband access to all our region. I believe collectively as a group, in partnership with many other organizations, that we have made a positive difference in the daily lives of many citizens, not only in this region, but statewide. Without taking our eye off all the other initiatives that I've mentioned, our focus over the past year has been communities of excellence and school and community connections. The Community of Excellence Initiative is a partnership with ARC, TVA, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. Our mission is to bring members of local communities together to identify key issues and opportunities, and once identified and agreed upon, do something about it. I'm proud to say that based upon a model developed by Corinth and Alcorn County, whose commission has been operating for a decade now, Chickasaw, Pontotoc, and Tippah counties are currently in the process of developing their own commission and taking on the challenge of making an even more positive impact on their respective communities. But today, our focus is on school and community connections. Today, you will see many ways of how those connections are working. But I want to take just a second to give you an example how schools and communities connect. The Career Coach program that was developed right here by some very talented visionaries is now being replicated statewide based upon the Toyota Wellspring model. The legislature passed a pilot program in 2022 to expand that program statewide and funded that pilot program at $8 million, and this year they increased that funding to $12 million. In our region, Three Rivers Planning and Development District, through a grant from Accelerate, championed through the legislature, by the way, with our own Donnie Bell as chairman of that committee that championed this project through, along with the help of all the other members. Three Rivers was able to hire 70 career coaches in our area, and they immediately started making a difference in young people's lives across our region. Those 70 are actually, as we speak, in a training session over at ICC Belden and couldn't be here today, but I would like to ask the members of the OG members. Everybody in here doesn't know what the original gangsters. Along with the original head gangster, Christy Luce, if y'all would stand and be recognized for being the pioneers of what I believe is the most significant I believe that this is the most significant piece of legislation designed to build our current and future workforce in my many years of being involved in this business. Career coaches statewide stand on your shoulders, gangsters. Now please welcome G.T. McCullough, who will give us an overview today of the state of the region.
Thank you, Mr. Rennick. And nothing will loosen you up like hearing Bill Rennick saying gangsters right before you jump on the stage. And so thank you, everybody, for being here. What an amazing turnout. So today is going to look and feel a little bit different than previous State of the Regions. We're admittedly taking a step back from presenting and analyzing the data that so many of you might have expected to see when you came here today. But we're stepping forward and leaning in on presenting some programs and initiatives that are happening throughout our region that we truly believe is going to move the needle on that data in a positive direction over the course of a long period of time. The theme of this meeting, like you've heard, is school-community connection. Everything that you hear today is going to be through the lens of how we can better connect our communities and our schools. The goal of this meeting is that everybody sitting in the audience, so all of you, leave here today with an idea, something that you can take back to your community, something that you can initiate to strengthen your relationships between your community and your schools, and strengthen your community over the long haul. So you're going to hear from two panels today. This first one I'm extremely excited about. So when we're talking about schools, let's take a step back and let's talk about kids these days, right? Everybody's heard, maybe some of us have said the phrase, kids these days. I'm really excited to introduce to you three very successful, very busy women who really see the potential in kids these days. And not only do they see the potential in the kids these days, they intentionally take their time to go into their local schools and pour into the kids these days, because the kids these days are going to be the ones sitting in our seats in the not-so-distant future. So before you meet those three, it is my pleasure to introduce you to one of the most impressive kids these days that you're ever going to meet. So, Miss Aaliyah Hudson, come up here, a senior at New Albany High School. We got anybody from New Albany in the house? Let's go. So Aaliyah, and a great ovation as she deserves. You'll see a picture of Aaliyah in front of the governor's office that was recently taken that she didn't know we took from her. And after you hear her speak and see how she managed this panel, you'll realize, yeah, she could have that chair one day. Aaliyah has done things like been named 2022 Miss Teen Congeniality in the state of Mississippi, and 2023 Student Ambassador Secretary of State. She has done things in her free time like organize fundraising drives to benefit pregnancy centers throughout Northeast Mississippi. Captain of the softball team. Do we need to go on? I told her to bring some resumes for anybody. This is the kind of talent we have growing up in our region. And we have the opportunity to pour into people like Aaliyah. Y'all already made her feel welcome. Do it again, Miss Aaliyah Hudson.
Well, good morning, everyone. First, I want to extend a huge thank you to every single one of you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the warm welcome as well. As GT said, where he made my head big, as GT said, today we're going to be hearing from a panel of phenomenal women across Northeast Mississippi whose priority is to sow into the youth of our state and the kids who, like he said, are going to determine the future of our state and have a huge impact on where our state's going to be in a couple of years. So let's get started. Let's learn more about Miss Robin Tannehill, the mayor of Oxford, Mississippi. Oxford is a much different place than when Robin Tannehill arrived in 1988 as a student at Ole Miss. Over the past 35 years, Robin has been blessed to experience Oxford from several perspectives: a student, a newlywed, a city employee, a small business owner, a volunteer, a parent with children in the Oxford public school system, a member of the Board of Aldermen, and now is Oxford's mayor. Robin served as the city's executive director of the Oxford Tourism Council for several years, and during that time, conceived, organized, and conducted the first annual Double-Decker Arts Festival. Robin's passion for volunteering in the Oxford School District inspired her establishing Girl Empowerment, a leadership program for fifth grade girls. The fifth class of Girl Empowerment graduated last week. Robin's most rewarding achievement has been to serve on the commission to redesign the state flag. Robin is serving in her second term as mayor and is a proud member of the Create Foundation board. We can all take inspiration from Robin's passion for volunteering and leadership development in her community. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mayor Robin Tannehill. Our next panelist is Miss Amy Tate. Amy is the Government Relations Manager for the Tennessee Valley Authority. In this position, she is responsible for managing relationships between TVA and the state's elected leadership and works to promote the company's position on issues to various community and political interest groups and other key stakeholders. Amy served on TVA's media relations staff and worked in TVA's Washington, D.C. office prior to joining the state and local government relations team. She co-founded the Milam Elementary Girls Leadership Academy in 2015 and remains active teaching classes. Amy currently serves on the Tupelo Public School District Board of Trustees and is past president of the Association for Excellence in Education. She also serves on the boards of the Mississippi Energy Institute, Skills Foundation of Mississippi, and the Healthcare Foundation of North Mississippi. Amy's dedication to education and public service is evident through her involvement in various boards and founding of the Milam Girls Leadership Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Amy Tate. Last, but certainly not least, we have Miss Lene Williams. Residing in Corinth, Mississippi, her hometown, Lene serves as the Women's Director at the Lighthouse Foundation, a nonprofit organization which serves the youth in Corinth and creates Christ-like models for the world to follow. When she is not at the gym training with her husband or tending to her garden and houseplants, she is mentoring the youth in her community and sharing with young ladies the importance of living a life of purpose. Lene leads 2 girls' leadership programs for students in Corinth schools. The STARS program, which introduces the arts and creativity to 5th and 6th grade girls, and Refine, a leadership program for 7th and 8th grade girls, which encourages and teaches young women to set goals and pursue a vision in their lives. Lene's commitment to mentoring young girls and encouraging them to pursue their goals is truly admirable. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Lene Williams. And let's give another huge round of applause to every single one of these ladies who are sewing into our young women. So to start, let's explore the leadership programs, each of our distinguished panelists, and gain insights into how they work. Robin, you established Girl Empowerment. Lene, you established SARS and Refined. And Amy, you established the Milam Elementary Girls Academy. Can you give us a brief overview of your leadership program, such as the age group of your program, when and where do you meet, and how long does your program last? Robin, we can start with you.
All right, great. Thank you all for being here today and for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about things that we are so passionate about. I founded Girl Empowerment. I actually copied my good friend Amy Tate. Amy was already doing her program, and when I was elected mayor 6 years ago, I knew that I wanted to find a way to invest in girls. You know, you hear there should be more women elected officials. Well, you can't elect people that don't run. So, you know, it really is a passion of mine to empower young women. We have a class of 16 fifth graders. We meet every Thursday for 12 weeks at our Central Elementary. And one of those Thursdays is a trip to Jackson. Take it away.
Amy?
So the Milam Girls Leadership Academy has taken a few iterations to get to where it is today. We started about 10 years ago, actually at Lawndale, and it was a co-ed program, and moved around a little bit, hopped grades, and then I started being involved with a program at MUW called New Leadership, and it's a partnership between the W and Rutgers University, and they bring Mississippi college women in the summer that are interested in running for office or public policy. I did that for a few years, and the conversation kept coming up, like, why aren't more girls involved in this? And I couldn't get that off my mind. And so I went back to the principal at the time and said, I think this needs to be girl specific, and here's why. Because we need a pipeline to women leaders to run for office. Loved it. Have had nothing but positive reinforcement from the school board, top down, all the teachers, all the schools. So that program was born about 7 years ago, and it has stuck at Milam, and it is wildly successful. We serve sixth grade girls, started with 20. They up it every year, and without telling me. This year I had 44 girls, which is not all that applied. It's getting very, very competitive, and you know, I think the school gets some calls when folks don't get picked. So we meet year-round, try to meet every 2 weeks on Wednesdays at lunch to go over different topics. We also have a lot of external speakers, and we also culminate with a trip to Jackson in the spring that is very, very special. A lot of these girls have never seen the Capitol, may not see the Capitol unless they do it with our group. So again, wildly successful, lots of support, and love seeing other areas duplicated around the state.
My girl's very favorite class every year is when Amy Tate comes to teach. So, and I didn't mention that we have 16 girls in our class. We have, we take applications, and the applications ask questions like, describe your friendships. What's the best thing about fifth grade? What's the hardest thing about fifth grade? And if your mama filled it out, I'm throwing it away. And I don't care if you fill it out with a crayon. But we choose 5 girls that, we have teachers and school administrators choose 5 girls who have demonstrated a leadership skill, which in fifth grade means they've had privileges and they've had opportunities. We ask for 5 girls who, you hear a lot of people say at risk, which typically means poor. We want 5 girls who have a challenging home life, have, either just girls that are struggling in some way. And then we pick 6 that are lost in the middle. And I think that's real important. 6 girls who you would say need a little encouragement. If they had a little push, they would really shine. If someone really invested in them, they could really move up. So that's our numbers. I didn't mention that. Sorry, I'm a hog.
Again, thanks for allowing us to be here today. We have 2 leadership programs that I have the honor of being a part of. One is our STARS program, which is for our younger girls, which is 5th and 6th grade, and they will eventually graduate from that program and enter into Refined, which is a leadership program that's for our 7th and 8th grade young ladies. We meet once a week during their school hours, during lunchtime, which can be a very eventful time. You get a bunch of teenage girls together during lunch, and it's just a very good conversation. It's interesting. If you don't believe me, go to a school and sit with some 7th and 8th grade girls. But it's such an honor to sit down with them and learn of them and hear their outtake and their input on a lot of things that they go through. They talk about home life. We talk about community. We talk about the importance of education and the importance of having a plan and realizing that you do have a plan and a purpose that is specifically designed for you. The Lighthouse Foundation is a faith-based organization, and so I do incorporate a lot of faith-based things. Of course, we are working in the school system, and so there are some limits on what I can say and how I can say them. However, we have such a great connection with our school system that it's just a known thing that where I will be speaking from and how I will encourage them and how I pour into them will be something that means a lot to me, which is my faith. And the young ladies know that, and they love it. They absolutely love it. And so we try to encourage them to have a plan and a purpose, and we also pour into them the importance of knowing how to get to there, to set a goal, and what it means to set a goal and to achieve that goal. We are very intimate with these girls. We know what's going on in their community. We know what's going on in their homes. We know what their grades are. A lot of them are really, surprised when I come up to them and say, so, you're struggling in history. Tell me about it. And of course, they want to know how do you know that? And because we're involved in everything that they do, this is just not a program that they come to once a week, just to chit chat and to talk. We are invested in these young ladies. And this program allows us to connect with our schools. We have relationships with the teachers. We have a relationship with their parents, as well as the administrative office at our school as well. And this goes much further than 7th and 8th grade. Even after they graduate from Refined, we help them in what's to come, whether that's, we're preparing them for high school, we're preparing them for college. We're also involved in helping them with job placements, and we have people in spots that help them do that. I'm honored today to bring 2 of the young ladies that have graduated from our Refined program to sit in with us today. We have Micaiah Williams and Tatia Cox. They have had the opportunity to graduate from our Refined program, and now they serve as our Lighthouse Foundation interns. And so they are doing exactly now what was done to them, which is pouring into lives of our young children. And so we just try to encourage them to not only receive a change, but also create a change by doing what has been done to them, to the community, and to the young women and young men around them.
Wow, that is excellent for, from all of you all. I remember when I was that age, I didn't have those opportunities available to me. As Amy and Robin said, politics is a very male-dominated field, and being a woman who wants to go into politics, I'm at, a natural disadvantage. So by preparing those young ladies and sowing into them, hey, if you set this goal and all you have to do is work hard and you can achieve any goal, like no goal is out of reach. That is wonderful. So let's delve deeper into each of your programs' origin history. Amy, I'll start with you. Why did you start the Milam Elementary Girls Leadership Academy?
Well, you know, there are so many reasons that I think this is important. I think boys have a lot of natural kind of organic opportunities to lead, you know, be that sports or scouts. It's just, even when they're little, you can watch them on the playground and they just kind of resolve issues and then get on with whatever game they were playing. Girls, it's a little trickier, you know, like you're told to be nice, and I don't know that we ever really learn to resolve conflict in a way. So a lot of the topics that we discuss aren't your traditional, you know, leadership class, learn how to shake hands and do all this kind of stuff. It's a lot about interpersonal communication, and it's a lot about conflict resolution, and it's a lot about learning how to be assertive in your communication and knowing that that's okay. You know, they throw the B word, bossy, around a lot. Well, I don't want to seem bossy. Like, what if somebody says I'm bossy? And I'm like, let's not. Let's just scrap that word. That's not a thing. We're going to be assertive. So a lot of our discussions are around that. And I try to put leaders, male and female, in front of them and ask them the hard questions. You know, we had, for example, Neil McCoy from the CVB was with the girls a few weeks ago, and we asked everybody, what's been your toughest leadership challenge? You know, I don't want to hear the good stuff. What have you had to kind of slog through and communicate through and live through? They need to hear that stuff, and they get really good at it. We do a lot of role play where we'll come up with a scenario of some icky stuff maybe going on in a friendship, you know, two friends or isolating another friend and posted about it on Snapchat. Well, they get up and they act that out, and they have to assertively talk about it and work through the conflict. They love that. They're like, this is something I would never do in my real life. You know, you just delete them and move on with your life. We're not deleting people. We're going to talk about it. And at that age, that's what's appropriate. That's the tough stuff for them. So that's what we focus a lot on. And we do the handshaking and the trip to Jackson. But I have noticed that has been the most impactful with this age.
I love that. I'll be 18 in August, and some of the situations that she said I would not be able to handle because I wouldn't really know how to. So it's, you know, a super big deal to be enriching that and planting that seed into girls that age. We all know that selecting the right participants for your program is essential. Robin, you mentioned you have a 16 program group. So what's your approach for selecting your participants, and what kind of commitment do you expect from them once they are selected?
Well, as I said, we try to select girls who perhaps wouldn't have developed relationships with each other otherwise. They don't know it. Some of them may figure it out by the end, but every week we have their notebooks set out for them. They never sit by the same person at a class. We shift them around. And one thing that's always so encouraging is that when we go to Jackson, it's usually about midway through. And when they get on the bus, they'll say, do I have an assigned seat? And I say no. And everybody's sitting with someone that at the first class I let them sit where they want to so that I can identify who's already got relationships. And so when they get on the bus in Jackson, that's not who they're sitting by. And it just, you know, these are authentic friendships that I now see my first class from 5 years ago running around together at high school football games. I see relationships that are authentic that perhaps wouldn't have had another reason to form. We choose the 16. As they come in each week, they have to shake my hand, look me in the eye, and introduce themselves. At our very first class, some of them need a bag to breathe in. I mean, they are like, you know, and I'll stand there and say, yeah, I mean, you can't move on until you look me in the eye. It's okay, introduce yourself again. Well, by the end, they're like, you know, spider monkeys on you, hugging you and carrying on, and it's, but our class, and I said at the beginning, you know, that we need more women in leadership roles. That doesn't look like elected office to me. That looks like women who are leading in their community, who are teaching Sunday school classes, who are coaching girls softball, who are heading up PTAs at schools, who are doing those kinds of things. And I tell my girls that bossy is not a leadership skill. and that I am not teaching this class so that they will run for office. I am teaching this class so that at the end of these 12 weeks, you have the self-confidence to stand up for yourself and other people. And that's the goal of our class. And one of the lessons that we do that is probably the most impactful, other than when Amy comes and does the role playing, that's their favorite. But we have an activity where they each stand on different sides of a line, and you step across the line. And a lot of these girls come from broken home situations, and a lot of them come from very privileged home situations, and they would probably not think they had a lot in common. But we start with step across the line if you wear glasses, step across the line if your favorite color's blue, step across the line if you like pizza, and we end with step across the line if you've cried once this week, step across the line if you live with someone who's not your parent, step across the line. If you have divorced parents, step across the line. And the list goes on, and all of a sudden, they realize there was never one time that only one person stepped across that line. And they realize that they have so much in common, and they bond over things that they would have never known they shared. So those are kind of the special things that that we get to do with them, and by the end, we all cry when it's over. So,
Robin,
good stuff.
the biggest point that you made was about relationships, and only a couple of years ago did I hear the saying, relationships matter. It was actually a hashtag that my dad made on a Facebook post. So I remember asking him, I was like, what do you mean by that? But the older I've gotten, the more that I've realized that relationships do matter. Relationships are crucial. No matter what field you decide to go into, building those relationships and having those connections are such a big deal. So building lasting relationships with program participants is huge. Lene, you have 4 years with the girls in your program. Could you tell us more about how you maintain relationships with your participants after the program ends, and share any success stories if you'd like to?
Oh, wow, yes. The way that we maintain relationships with our girls even after they've completed our programs, well, first of all, we're very intentional. I'm gonna try not to get emotional because I'm a big crybaby, but we're very intentional about these young ladies and about our young men as well. I'm trying not to, but we maintain relationships. We know a lot about these young ladies. Before we even have them in our STARS programs and before they're introduced to our refined programs, we have known these young ladies since they were younger, even way younger than that. We also offer tutoring programs and summer programs and camps and things like that. And so we know them from when they're teeny tiny up until they are able to be accepted in or be included in the programs that we offer. And so we know them from then, and then we just build up from there. We know who their parents are. We know when an older sibling is graduating, we're there. We are there when, the teachers can't get a parent on the phone. We're there to stand in the gap for the parents. We're very intentional about being relationships are huge. If you do not maintain a good relationship, then you really have nothing. And so we make sure that we stay connected with our young ladies, where I'm checking in on them every once in a while. We're going out to eat. We're just chilling out because that's what family does, and that's what I consider them as to be. So we're very intentional about relationships. None of this can happen if that thing is not established. Relationships within our school is very important as well. And so we know exactly what's going on with them every single day, all year round. It goes way beyond a program. It's life. You're doing life with them. We're not doing programs with them. It's about including them. If I'm going to the grocery store for my family, I'm tagging somebody along. I know on Sundays we do a big thing where we take a group out to eat after church on Sundays. And so it's doing life with them and not so much of programs. As far as success stories, I would like to believe that every young person that comes to those doors is a success story. whether or not if we're involved in that, they are a success story because God has already made that happen. He has given them a purpose and a plan. So every kid is a success story. But one of the stories that do stick out to me when I think about the Refined group, this group is a mixture of all kind of young ladies. We have black, we have white, we have Hispanic, we have quiet ones, we have timid ones. We have some that are just very open and you have to force their lips shut because they don't want to be quiet. But one year, in the beginning, when I first started, we had a young lady who was very timid and very shy, and you couldn't get 2 words out of her. And of course, Refined is a 2-year program. So 7th grade year, we spent that entire year just trying to get her to say her first name. I mean, it was just, she was a hard one to kind of break the ice with. But as the year progressed, she began to get a little bit more open, a little bit more comfortable. She would share things. Not so much with the group, but she would share things with me, and as well as Jennifer, who also helps with Refine. And then she would have graduated up to the 8th grade year. 8th grade was almost the same way, but we knew her first name by that time. I mean, we were breaking ice. We could get her to grin a little bit. And then came the time for us to complete our 8th grade year. And we do a graduation each year, and we graduate all the girls out, and we also ask for a young lady or 2 to speak. Well, all these loudmouths didn't have anything to say at the end of the year, but they were too nervous to do it. And I heard I'll do it. And I'm just like, what in the world? And she says, I'll do it. And I said, are you sure? You know, this is a young lady who we literally couldn't get to say a word. And so I gave her the opportunity to do that because she asked to do that. And when she stood up and she spoke at this graduation, she exuded confidence. She exuded just encouragement. All the things that we had encouraged her to do all this year, we saw it. And so that's what we want to do with these young ladies. They walk around feeling defeated most of the time, and they act like sometimes that their voices don't need to be heard or they don't deserve to be heard. But when you give them the opportunity to speak on something, they will do it. And so she got up there and she talked about Refined and what it meant to her and how she will use this as a lifelong thing. That's a success story to me. And I see her every once in a while. She works at one of our local coffee shops in Corinth. And I see her every once in a while, and now she's a big mouth. I'm not joking. I'm trying to get through the drive-through, and I'm holding up the line because she wants to tell me what she's doing now. And I know what she's doing now. She's in college. She'll be graduating in a year, and I love her. She's one of my favorites. And so that's if I had a success story, there will probably be one. And now I can't get her to be quiet, which is perfectly fine. I'll take it.
I love that. I love that. You know, Lene, like you just said with your story, confidence building is such a huge, huge part of, you know, building young girls who are in, you know, to prepare them for those leadership roles. I remember a couple of years ago when I was in middle school, I was extremely shy. You could not get a word out of me. I would go to school and just come home and, you know, go in my room. But now I'm a firecracker. So, you know, having, you know, figures like these who are sewing into the girls of our society, of our state, of, you know, the world in general, it is such a big deal. So, go ahead.
This is hard to measure success in programs like these. There's no scorecard and metrics, and, you know, it's just squishy and it's relationships. And I told GT this story, and it's the funniest thing. We do a role play where the girls have to portray different leaders in the city. Like we draw out of a hat which role you play. You know, there's a mayor. See you, Mayor Jordan. It was awesome. You would have been proud of the girl who played you. City council, media. There's somebody that plays Dr. Peak who, like, Public Works. And the emergency that they did a few weeks ago, we set up this scenario, was that a lion had escaped from the Tupelo Buffalo Park. And they had to come together as leaders in the town and figure this thing out. And I had this one little girl, she had just not talked all year. I mean, all year. And, you know, she would talk in the small groups, but she never would get up. And I give them about 30 minutes, and they have to plan for a press conference. So you have to get up there as whoever you're playing and say, this is what we're doing, you know. And at one point, I'm walking around, and there's folks at her table all huddled around a phone. And I'm thinking, I don't know what they're doing. I'm going to go back there and check on it. She had Googled Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks and gotten somebody on the phone and asked them if a lion got loose in a town, what would they do? And this person was talking to the group, like walking them through it. And I thought, you know, she may not be the loudest or get up and she's solving the problems. And you need that kind in every group. So it's hard to measure, but when I see something like that, I'm like, yeah, that's success.
I love that. That is wonderful. So to close it out, I'm going to ask each of our panelists the following question. If someone wants to start a leadership program in their community, what would it take? All of you mentioned the amount of passion and preparation that's required to start a program. Could you provide more insights and suggestions to our audience on what it takes to start a successful program?
Well, who in this group would like to be the one? No, that's right, raise your hand. It takes somebody to take the bull by the horns. It takes someone to show up every week. I've had so many people who have said, I want to start this in my community. Tell me how to do it. I'm like, okay, and they're like, well, no, I was thinking you'd come. I'm like, well, here's the thing. I have a full-time job, too. But it's one of those things that you've got to find someone to spearhead it. Somebody has to be the person who is so committed that they won't let it fail, who is going to sell it to school administration, who is going to be there week in and week out and probably drive a bunch of people home who don't have rides and probably deal with parents on the side. And you know, that's really what it takes. You change with each group. Amy and I have talked about how I've had one group that, just a bunch of bullies. And so we focused a lot on bullying, and it was a group that they all had cell phones. And I was like, what in the world? You're 10, put your phone up. But they were dealing with social media kinds of bullying. So we kind of adjusted to that. My class this year was the sweetest group I've ever had. Every single one of them pitifully, painfully shy. And so you have to adjust to your different groups, and you just got to have somebody that at their core says, I really want to invest in these girls, and I want to leave it better than I found it. There's no real guidebook to what comes after that. You've just got to have that one person that digs in and says, I'm the person.
Retweet. That's what else? I think, and I saw Mike and Andrea early, ARC calls that a spark plug. Like, you have to have a spark plug in that school district or in that community that's passionate about that, because you can go, well, just have a teacher do it. Well, they don't have time. They don't have the bandwidth. And that might not be their passion. One thing we've looked at, are there other groups in the community that need a project? That I feel like folks are always looking for some sort of something to kind of be their banner thing. But I'm with Mayor Tannehill. It always goes back to, you've got to have one person that'll see it through and not drop the ball and make sure that all this is getting done. So,
I would say be intentional. That's where just be intentional about it. I would say also to get involved in your community. Find a place where you can volunteer at, where there's kids there. I know for me, before I became the women's director at the Lighthouse, I started out as a volunteer. That gave me the opportunity to hang out with the kids, to get to know them, to build relationships with them, and not only the kids but their families as well. Be intentional about relationships with the parents or the guardians and their siblings. My advice for anybody who wants to try to start a leadership program in their school, I would say just do it. Just absolutely do it. I know with us, we have the opportunity to go in and sit with our kids during school. We usually go around lunchtime because that's just the easier time. I'm not sitting in through a history class. I just cannot do that. But we're hanging out with them at the schools. We're building relationships with the schools as well. And so I would say just do it, but be very, very intentional. Let them know that you care. Don't make them feel like you're just trying to create another program. Our kids don't need another program. They need people who are going to love on them and pour into them and do life with them and just have somebody that they can call on and just be there for them. And so I would say just do it, like Nike. I just realized it. But be very, very intentional and don't look at it as just a program. Look at it as doing life with someone. That would be my advice for that.
Wow, I don't know what else to say. y'all have me at a loss of words. As much as I wish we had more time to speak with every single one of these excellent women, unfortunately we don't. But if any of you all are interested in beginning a leadership program or anything, I encourage you all to speak to them after this. They have done wonderful things in our community. They have built, girls like me who start timid and shy and are now, big and loud. But I am extremely thankful to have had the opportunity to speak with every one of y'all, extremely thankful to have been given this opportunity. And like I said, if you are interested in starting a program or anything, be sure to speak with any of them. And like Lene said, be like Nike, just do it.
Wasn't that great? Isn't that great? I love that show, and I love these people. And if you feel inspired to get a leadership program started in your community, as they said, just do it. I'm going to ask you to take your phone out right now and text the principal or your economic developer or somebody in your community and say, we're starting a leadership program, and I'll explain later. And so, but reach out to them. And so now I'm going to take your attention to your State of the Region program. Right here, we're going to walk through a couple of these things. You'll see early on page 4, you're going to see the Girls Leadership Program. So if you have any questions or thoughts or things like that, you can reference that. But let's go to the back cover where we have school community connection listed out. We got in a room one day and said, what would it look like for a school and a community to be well connected? We don't pretend that this is a perfect list or an all-exhaustive list, but we do think that this is a list of items that you could go through that might spark an idea. Again, something that you could take back to your community and say, here's an opportunity for us to improve. And so things like forming a collaborative and allowing all groups from your community to come together, from your students, your subgroups, your business community, your nonprofits, elected officials, everybody in the room together to form relationships, to learn what's going on in their lives or in the schools, and exchange ideas and information. So next, exchanging information. How are we communicating what we're doing, both in the community and on the school side? We can't just rely on nighttime meetings because childcare can be an issue. Or are we utilizing the social media for the tool that it could be? Or are there videos coming out? You're going to see some really incredible videos that a certain school district has put together. They relay information to the community, what they do, why they're doing it. Are we fostering authentic career connections? Utilizing resources that are available to learn your students, their interests, aptitudes, things like that, and then utilizing these career coaches and others in the community that can point these students in a positive direction in your community and throughout the region. encouraging the giving of both your finances and time to help your schools be successful and be innovative. If I can turn your attention to page 6, you're going to see a map of the region. These are endowment funds, scholarships, special projects held at the Create Foundation. We just put together a map so you can have a visual. They're named for schools. They're specific to benefit educators and students within these schools. But this gives you a visual of where they are. Your community might want to start an endowment fund. We can help you with that. Or you might want to pitch in with a special project happening throughout your community to create some innovative things in your schools. There are opportunities for those things to be done. If you look at page 7, the Oxford School District Foundation was gracious enough to allow us to showcase some specific grants that they've given throughout their schools to be innovative, allowing teachers to do things that they'd like to do in the class that they might not have the budget to go get on their own. And so these are, again, just ideas for you to take. We hope this document will be helpful for you as you leave. So please take it with you, use it, and if you have any questions or want to contact any of these people in this document, reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you out. And so now we're going to shift to the next panel. So thought that was good? This one's going to be just as good. This was an individual basis that we just heard from Girls Leadership Program. Now let's shift to a full community, full school district scale. Well, I'm telling you, when I sat down over breakfast at Starkville Cafe and embarrassed myself over pancakes in front of Mike Taggart, and he told me the things that are happening within this school district that the community has assisted in getting done, I was blown away. I think you're going to be too. So let's turn our attention to a video that we're going to have play, and then the Starkville School District, the Starkville story will be told.
Welcome to Jacket Thrive. During the fall and spring semesters, students in our school district will be invited to participate in Jacket Thrive based on their individual academic needs. Jacket Thrive is exactly that. 8 days of intercession in the fall and 5 days of intercession in the spring, dedicated to helping our students thrive as they pursue their passion, purpose, and potential. Jacket Thrive allows teachers additional time to advance and enhance their students' learning beyond the traditional classroom setting. Each school campus will develop interventions and enrichment programs to meet the needs of students who are attending intercession, and teachers will provide targeted instruction with a focus on a small group of students in an engaging and dynamic learning environment.
So much in math, we teach kids how to do things, but they don't really understand why it's happening. And so when you have that extra little bit of time, you can really pull out the manipulatives. You can show them exactly what's happening with those numbers, and they really get it when you can show them why that's happening.
For students in grades K through 7, intercession will be divided into 3 learning blocks that include reading, math, and an enrichment offering, such as art, science, or sports.
As a parent, I'm really excited about the enrichment opportunities that my child will have and just the other children in Oktibbeha County will have through this new modified calendar. I think that it gives the children a break sometimes when they need a break. And as a parent, I get to spend more time with my child throughout the year, which I'm really looking forward to, especially in the months like October when you can take advantage of the fall season.
For students in grades 8 through 12, intercession will include multiple paths for students to invest in their learning, to get back on track, or to explore new opportunities to experience excellence.
This is an opportunity for me to help my students accelerate their learning.
Discover your passion, determine your purpose, and define your potential during Jacket Thrive. Learn more at www.starkvillesd.com/jacketthrive.
Hey, good morning. I think, is this on? Yes. Good. And the hardest thing for me is sit in this chair. I'm going to tell you, when I saw the chair, I said, I'm not sure I can sit 30 minutes, but I'm going to try. We appreciate GT asking us to come and talk a little bit about the Starkville, Oktibbeha Hall County Schools and the story, and have a conversation about some of the many wonderful things that are going on in our school district. I'm truly blessed to serve as the superintendent of schools there, Tony McGee, over this past 8 months. I'm the fresh face in the community. I started back July 1, and so I'm going to let some of my colleagues here do some of the heavy lifting as we talk today, because they've been ingrained and entrenched in this work for some time now. Speaking of wonderful things, we have some great people that came today to talk to us a little bit, also share in the conversation. One is Dr. Christy Maulding. Dr. Maulding has served as the deputy superintendent of the Starkville schools for 6 years now, and so she's been a true blessing. She's been ingrained in this work for 6 years, working with a new modified calendar, helping get the new partnership school up and running, oversees the curriculum for us K through 12. It's been a true blessing to our teachers, making sure that they receive quality professional development, and making sure that our boys and girls have an opportunity to learn every day, and making sure that all children have access to opportunities. And so she's been tremendous for us, and we thank her for the work that she's doing. Dr. Darian Spann. Dr. Spann is our high school principal, and so I text my principal about a leadership. So you got a text coming your way if you didn't see it. So I just started a leadership academy at the high school. So Dr. Darian Spann is the principal at the high school for us, does tremendous work up there with our boys and girls, served as the assistant principal at the high school for 5 years, I think, 5 years, and now has moved into the leadership role there, and we're proud to have him at the high school. Is doing some real quality work with our kids there, with the academic houses, as we move through that, and just true blessing to our community. And then Mike Taggart. Mike Taggart has been a great asset to us in our school district. He is the CEO of the Greater Starkville Development Partnership. Is that right? That's right. So he's been a tremendous blessing for us, helps us form partnerships in our community, keeps us abreast of new opportunities, business and industries in the community, and allows our district to be a part of his meetings each month as they talk about economic development in there. Not only that, he's my neighbor, and so that works out really good too. So you did see a short video of our intercession. Starkville went to the new modified calendar. As many school districts start to look at the traditional calendar, moving from the traditional calendar to a modified calendar. Starkville went to that last year, following similar to the model that Corinth has been doing for many years, and has been very successful at. And I'm going to kind of lean on Dr. Maulding and let her talk a little bit about how they went through that process of surveying parents and teachers and talking with students about the modified calendar, and kind of how we worked through that process and move through it, and then we'll kind of talk about the number of days and those type of things. Okay, Doc?
Thank you all for having us today. When we talk about change, I don't care if it's your world or my world, change is difficult. And when I arrived in Starkville 6 years ago, we had the consolidation of the two districts had just taken place. And it was our first year to have all of our students and adults in one place. So we began to look at data, we began to look at obstacles, and we began to look at needs of our students and our communities. So I tell you, 6 years ago, these conversations began with a vision of where we wanted to be. This is our first year of full implementation of the modified calendar, but those conversations began 3 years ago. Dr. Pazant, Nicole Thomas is here today. Every one of us were going every direction and trying to begin conversations. We all come to the table with preconceived ideas and definitions of what things may look like, but we knew the obstacles that we wanted to overcome within the school district. So there were literally 2 years worth of conversations that took place. sometimes crucial conversations. We had to learn as a community, as a school district, even internally, we didn't all believe the same things or like the same things, but we had to come to the table with a focus on what would benefit our students the most. Our focus in this, we'll talk about several different topics today, but our focus in this was how can we have about a 78 free and reduced lunch number in our school district. How can we get access to the most students in the most beneficial ways and enrich our students in the most beneficial ways? So we began those conversations a couple of years ago. Dr. Spann, do you want to talk a little bit about what our committee meetings look like, our internal meetings and things like that?
Sure. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yeah. Good morning. So in the beginning of this whole implementation, really getting teachers on board with wanting to go to the modified calendar. Of course, when you have never done anything, you don't know what it looks like. And many times, as Dr. McGee has mentioned, Current was doing it. And so I think one year we did have a teacher from Current who kind of gave us some insight of what that would look like. And so those meetings with teachers and with students and with parents kind of led us to a place where we can kind of settle in and say, okay, well, we're going to do this, we're going to try this and make it happen. And so as we kind of end this first year of implementation, back in October, we had our first intercession time. And so teachers have the opportunity to choose whether or not they want to work the intercession. So those who did not choose, they got 2 weeks off during the October time. And so upon returning after that, the first thing the teacher said was, I am sold on this intercession, because for those of you all who've worked in education, starting school now, starting in July, but even when we were starting in September, August and September, and not getting a break until Thanksgiving is a lot. So being able to have that 2 weeks break in October kind of gave them some relief so that they can come back and do what they need to do for our students.
I think one thing that's important to remember, this is a big push now from the legislature across the state. And I think one thing that's really important to remember, it begins with internal communication. You can never over-communicate. And just because you've said it once doesn't mean that you don't need to say it 15 more times. And internally, it is so important to remember that there are so many stakeholders that have to be at the table. Nobody likes a meeting. Dr. McGee likes them less than anybody I know. But you have to meet and meet again and meet again, because from transportation to federal programs, you all heard from Ms. Taylor, who has been instrumental. And you can't do it one way and just be stuck. You are constantly having to come to the table and pivot, and come to the table and pivot to make it a little bit better or more aligned with the needs of your community. When we change to modified, just the terminology that needs to be put out into the community and across the district is so important. Modified calendar is a year-long calendar. There's such a mindset around that. Nicole beat that into us last year over and over. Really, there are only 13 days that change in a modified calendar. Our teachers come back about 2 weeks early. They come back the third week of July. At the end of the first 9 weeks, we have 2 weeks. Everyone gets their fall break, and those that come back and work intercession work 8 extra days of that. For some of our teachers and assistant teachers, it's a wonderful check right before Christmas. They love that extra bonus coming right before Christmas. And then we start second semester the 1st of October, second 9 weeks, the 1st of October. Christmas is the same. Those holidays are the same. And then at spring break, at the end of third 9 weeks, everyone has their spring break. Everyone needs that spring break. And then we come back for that 5-day intercession. It has really improved our attendance rates. Families are able to plan vacations in each season that they want to align. Additionally, some benefits that we've seen from it. Y'all, we got our 3rd grade GATE first round test scores yesterday, and significant, not from COVID growth, significant pre-COVID growth. So we're seeing in real-time benefits from what that remediation looks like.
Yeah, and we also received some of our ACT scores. We see our ACT is up. Dr. Spann did a lot of ACT workshops and training at the high school during those intercessions prior to the ACT being taken by our 11th graders, and we've been blessed to see some increase in our ACT scores. Third grade gauge scores are up for us. You know, Dr. Malden mentioned a little bit about those teachers getting that extra check, you know, right before Thanksgiving and right before Christmas, and then also if they work in March, they kind of get that extra check as kind of moving into the summertime and planning vacations. You know, so many of our teachers already work a second job. You know, they're working during the holidays. You see them working that second job, and this really gives them an opportunity to earn those extra dollars doing something that they love to do, something that they're trained to do, something that they love boys and girls. They're a teacher. That's what they do as their primary work. And so why should they have to go and earn dollars somewhere else when they can earn those dollars teaching boys and girls in a small group setting? As superintendents, I know I see several superintendents here today. We hear all the time when you talk about the accountability model that we never really get to be a true teacher. I never get to teach in my class. I'm so geared towards teaching towards the state test, and there's so many mandates that are handed down to me. During those 13 days that you have that small group setting in your classroom, you can truly be a teacher. You can go in and set your lesson plans or your curriculum or your guidelines however you want to, because there's not that structure in place that tends to be in schools nowadays with state testing. And teachers have really loved being able to have that small group setting, working with those students that may need a little extra help in their classroom, that may be struggling there. They get them during those 8 days in October where it's a small group setting for them. We're still running transportation. We're still running child nutrition, doing all the things of school, making sure boys and girls can get back and forth. But teachers get that small group where it may be 5 kids in a class or 8 kids in a class, and they can divide them up and work with them individually with a lesson that they have always wanted to teach. But there's times that they can't teach that because we're so focused on the state test. And so when we hear back from teachers, they say it's really nice to be able to go in my classroom, close my door, and teach the lessons that I like to teach. And so that's been a blessing for us. They've also been able to earn that extra money and be able to use that towards their families, especially when you get that check in November right before Black Friday, and so they can go out and spend that money there. And then they still get their fall break, getting those 3 days in October, and then they get that week in March, spring break time that we all need, and it's been a blessing. But out of that has come not only that enrichment for those kids, making sure that we're catching them up. One thing we really want to focus on is, you know, so many times we wait to the end of the summer, and we try to catch a kid up in 2 weeks of summer school that he couldn't get in 180 days. Now, how that works, I'm not real sure, but we've been doing it for years. And so this gives us an opportunity to catch those kids and remediate and enrich those standards as they go along. So they have a fresh memory of those standards at that time. We're able to pull them in, rework on those standards, rework on those grades, and be able to maybe save some of those kids from having to go to summer school and trying to catch them up at the end of the school year. Now, I'll tell you, like Dr. Malden said, change is tough. People don't always like change. And early on, there was several parents and teachers that just, hey, I'm a traditional guy. I want to go like I did. But after that first intercession went by and after the second intercession went by, we started receiving those calls and emails from parents and teachers. And like Doc said, hey, I'm sold. I was wrong. And somebody asked me earlier, how do you like it? And I said, I think our community and teachers both would revolt if we went back the old way. And so it's been a success for us. Now, will it be a success in every community? I don't know. And what we do in Starkville, you have to blend and change to your community. But I do think it's very important, like Doc said, it was a 3-year process. You had to get stakeholder buy-in. You had to have those parent meetings. You had to have teacher meetings in different parts of the community to make sure that you involved all the community stakeholders so they felt good and knowledgeable and well communicated going into those intercession days and also going into the new school year. one of the blessings that's come out of it is the partnerships, not only in the remediation piece, but also having something for those kids that may be some type of an enrichment for them that maybe they don't get to do during the school year. I was in the partnership school, I think it was during the second intersession, and Christina Reynolds is here. And Christina is our liaison with Mississippi State University and does a tremendous job of working with our school district at the partnership school. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But I was upstairs and the intersession was going on, and I thought, I heard just something went like, and thought, that's a goat, you know. And sure enough, it, again, and I thought, dang, it's a goat. I go down there, and they got goats inside the partnership school, and kids are milking goats, you know. and so that's, you know, it's things like that that children may not get to do during the regular school day. Kind of outside the box thinking, but it worked, you know. I think we had 135 children signed up for the vet school, which was a partnership during that time that went through an enrichment piece that the veterinarian school did at Mississippi State at the partnership school. And had a lot of boys and girls be involved in that. But I'll let Dr. Maloney talk about some of the other partnerships that we formed during that time.
Y'all, what I've learned is the worst thing somebody can do is say no. You ask, and I love that this group went ahead of us because it truly is a grassroots effort of just asking. I don't care what industry you're working in, you're passionate about something, whether it's work you're passionate about or a hobby you're passionate about, there's something you can bring to the table. And pouring into these kids is so important. We are so excited. After 2 intercessions, we have been able to enrich about 650 students between the 2 intercessions and provide remediation to those students that were struggling and needed to get those grades up a little bit. When I tell you it ranges from the vet camp to East Mississippi Lumber, working with our construction department, allowing students the opportunity to Advanced Composites is one of our amazing partners, allowing kids to come out, whether they're kindergartners or 11th graders, and see what is advanced composites, what are opportunities for my future. I think as it builds itself up and you hear a little bit more about what we're going to talk about today, it is allowing us exposure to our students and their parents about gainful employment opportunities, education opportunities that can change their life and change our community and keep them plugged in at home.
Doc, you want to talk a little bit about the enrichment at the high school?
Yeah, so in addition to, Dr. McGee had mentioned the ACT that we've done, and so our CTE programs, so all of those teachers, they had to put together an enrichment for students. And so just some of the titles of some of those enrichments were our marketing program put together a stitch-by-stitch program, our culinary program put together a ready, set, cook program, our health science introduced and did a CPR, first aid program, and then our ag program put together a plant and animal program for those students. So those were just some additional enrichments that happened at the high school.
And I'll bring in Mike down here on the end. He's looking good on the other end, but I'm going to let him talk a little bit too. So I appreciate him anchoring the other side for us. Just on the community aspect, talk a little bit about the intercession modified calendar, maybe some feedback that you've gotten from different people.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having us this morning. I guess that I represent in my role here to support our talented team of educators is my role is working with the business community within Starkville, working on community development programs. That's what we do at the partnership. And, you know, economic development, community development, modern day economic and community development is so much about quality of life, of course, and that is really what could be more important than your public education system when it comes to the quality of life of any community. And with that, the business community in Starkville and Oktibbeha County have really embraced the changes and the programs that we've seen with the school district. There's so many different opportunities for individual business owners to support and to be a part of that. I think they first and foremost do it because it's the right thing to do for our community. But there's also an economic argument to make here that's supporting your public education and what it means to a community. Whether we're talking about site selectors, we want to talk big picture, site selectors and investors in our community, they understand that the public school system represents their workforce. They understand that the public school system represents the future of their workforce and how vital and important it is to have a healthy, thriving workforce and community. I think we've just seen countless examples, several big examples have already been mentioned, of the business community stepping up and being a part of whether it's enrichment camps to support and where they have the advantage of bringing in their employees to be a part of that, to support and foster the students of every age group. Whether it's co-ops or internships. My daughter, I'm the proud parent of one beautiful daughter and 3 knuckleheaded boys, and I can tell you all 4 have seen firsthand, and as a parent, firsthand have seen the advantages of the changes and the philosophical turn that the school district have made over the last few years with respect to enrichment classes, internships. My daughter just finished a shadowing opportunity with an OBGYN in our community that exposed her not only to the day-to-day practice, but the hospital, just came home, and I thought, well, there's 2 things that'll come from this. One is she'll realize maybe there is some interest there, or she'll realize just as importantly that her career pathway would be in a different direction. Well, I could not have been. She just came home so enthusiastic, so overwhelmed with the experience, and that is something that would not have been able to take place without the professional engagement, professional involvement from your business community. And there's just so much to say about so many great examples. We could go through, we work with our Chamber of Commerce in our community, and they, of course, have the membership of businesses in your community, and those businesses have just really, we're in year 1 too. I think that's an important point, is that this is just the very beginning, is that we can see the engagement from the business community within Starkville, and I think they've already made such a huge impact, and there's so many others, I think, that are in waiting, trying to get involved and want to be involved, whether it's aeronautics we've talked about, whether it's medicine or the healthcare industry. There's just an endless interest in these programs.
One of the other great partnerships that we have there in the Starkville-Octavia Hall School District is the partnership with Mississippi State. A few years ago, there was a vision of building a school on Mississippi State's campus, the Partnership School, which serves our 6th and 7th graders there in the Starkville-Octavia Hall School District. Every 6th and 7th grader will attend that partnership school there and go through that school that's located on Mississippi State's campus. So it houses 6th and 7th grade, but it also houses offices and a suite for the College of Education at Mississippi State. And so the school is not only used for our day-to-day operations, but we also have many of the people from the college education in there each and every day working with our boys and girls, have interns from the College of Education in our building every day working there. So I'm gonna let Dr. Malden, again, she was on the forefront of that, and also Nicole Thomas is in the office, in the audience today. Talk a little bit about how the Partnership School came about and kind of the formation of that.
The Partnership School, as Dr. McGee said, is our 6th and 7th grade, and it contains 100% of our 6th and 7th graders. It's the only partnership school or lab school of its kind in the nation. To see what our kids, the benefit that our students get from that is amazing. Our first year, again, K-12 and post-secondary education don't speak even close to the same language. So we had to first get in the room together and learn each other. Sending in interns once a semester is one thing, but sharing space, being vulnerable, having those IHL in your building all day, every day, seeing what you do right, seeing what you do wrong, seeing your efforts. It's a different relationship that you have in that situation. So our first year, we offered 17 classes, or the university offered 17 of their ed prep classes in the partnership building. It's purposefully designed for 6th and 7th grade so that 6th grade would meet the elementary requirements and 7th grade would meet the secondary requirements of the ed prep program. So there's a lot of attention in that building with Ms. Neal, the principal, and we work closely with curriculum and creative scheduling. We try to do there's teaming in both grades, but we try to do a whole lot with exploratory learning, that's building our kids in those grade levels to get them ready for academic houses that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But flexibility. When we moved into the partnership school, again, we began to look at data and obstacles, and not as barriers, but things we needed to ask for and work on to get around those barriers. So once we got our feet wet, our first year into that building, we decided to keep our kids moving the direction we needed to. We also needed to apply for the District of Innovation. The District of Innovation is something that the State Department grants. It's legislation that was written because we needed a few waivers to be successful there that would free us up from accreditation standards. We've been able through that to add flexibility in our seat time. I mentioned earlier that our students, we have about 78% free and reduced lunch. So it's very, very important for us to be able to have access to our students. We transport most of our students to school, and we transport most of our students home from school. So we needed the flexibility at the partnership school to be able to offer clubs and enrichment opportunities while we had access to 100% of our students. So I feel like equity has just catapulted in that building. Another thing, Dr. Gadke, I think, is here today. As we finished our first year and we learned some of the same acronyms and some of the common language, we began to be able to really explore other opportunities. Dr. Gadke works closely with us, with his graduate assistants. They work in and out of not only the partnership school, but our whole district in strengthening our multi-tiered systems of support across the district, in identifying behavior plans and strategies to work with our students. So the resources that they pour into the district are monumental. They lead professional development. I mentioned equity a minute ago. Some of his team comes in and leads professional learning communities for us on a regular basis. We this year have moved into book studies that are led by some of the education fellows, and it's just a give and take relationship where we grow and learn from one another.
And speaking of grow, we have a grow classroom there at the partnership school, which was a grant done through Blue Cross Blue Shield a few years ago, where children are able to actually grow their own vegetables and then prepare those in the classroom. And I think we have a grow video, so if you would show that real quick.
A significant investment from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of Mississippi, the GROW Gardening and Overall Wellness Classroom and Outdoor Garden connects students to a healthy school environment. Excellence is growing at Partnership Middle School.
The Grow Classroom has many different aspects. We have the garden outside, so we are always growing, weeding, trying to germinate seeds. In the classroom, we learn about agriculture, plant science, soil science, safety in the kitchen. We do use our vegetables from the garden, and we learn how to wash our vegetables, how to chop our vegetables, what slicing looks like.
We are growing cucumbers, tomatoes, zucchini, bell peppers, squash, and really, really pretty flowers.
The most exciting part about going outside to the garden is picking the plants to see if they're ready or not, and just getting outside to take a breath of air and getting out of the classroom.
It's been fun watching them go to the garden, be excited when they see things that are ready to be picked. And as soon as they pick it, they're like, okay, Miss Sumas, what are we gonna cook with this? What can we make?
These seed-to-plate learning experiences are transforming how students connect to their food.
I look forward to coming to the Grow Classroom every day.
My favorite recipe is the zucchini muffins.
During Cucumber Week, we made cucumber scrub, the cucumber cool down, homemade pickles, and we did a little cucumber eye mask. We hatched the chicks in the incubator, and there are 4 different chickens outside that are all adults.
I've learned how to plant things, take care of chickens. I never done that before. I've learned how to cook, and it's just overall a really nice place.
Grow with us at Partnership Middle School. Learn more at www.starkvillesd.com/grow.
You know, that classroom has been a blessing to so many because kids nowadays, they don't work in a garden. They don't grow their own vegetables, and they're not tending to chickens and milking goats and doing those type things. So although, you know, it is part of the learning English and math and reading, it's about the experience and relationship the ladies talked about earlier, about life, doing life, you know. And so so much we get caught up on the academic end of it that we forget to teach kids about life. And so through that Grow Classroom, we're able to do that through being able to grow your own food, kind of a farm-to-table experience, and prepare that so they can take that stuff home with them. Boys and girls really enjoy that. One of the other unique features that we're going through right now, and Dr. Maulding talked about the District of Innovation. She led the grant or writing that proposal for the District of Innovation, which Starkville got for the Mississippi Department of Education, is our academic houses. Those academic houses actually start early down at the Partnership School, work through Armstrong, our middle school, and up through the high school. And so, Doc, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I want to be sure I say this right. I want to talk a little bit about academic houses. There's a lot of research around this concept by UC Berkeley and Johns Hopkins, and it's founded on 3 key elements, and they are a small learning community, college curriculum with a career theme, and an advisory board that forges partnerships with employers, higher ed, and the community. And they're developed based on student interest and community workforce needs. And I want Dr. Spann to talk about our houses and how we've gotten those off the ground these last few years.
So we started this conversation started probably a year before I came, and so over those last few years we have been sitting teachers, and we have been going to professional developments to learn more about academies and bringing them into Starkville. And so actually this past year is really our first full year of full implementation where we're wall-to-wall academies here in Starkville. And so we have 3 academic houses. So and what happens is in 8th grade, our students take a Keystone class where they go through 16 career clusters. And so then they begin to realize what their interests may be, and want to make sure that we put an emphasis on interest, because you know students' interests change every day, and so want to make that clear. So what their interests may be at that time, and then so they choose a pathway, and that pathway could be any one of our CTE courses, or that pathway could be band, choir, JROTC, art. And so whatever that pathway is, then our goal is to cultivate those interests for those students. And so the plan is that as they enter to the 9th and 10th grade, that they take all of their core courses. And so when they become 11th and 12th graders, they have room in their schedules for internships and work-based learning opportunities centered around what their interests are, or centered around the pathway that they have. And so so what we've done is we're cohorting our academic courses for students so that they can, Dr. Martin talked about the smaller learning community, so students are, one, they're not crisscrossing this big old school when they come to the high school. And so so the academic houses are centered in different parts of the school, so students, if they're cohorted in those academic courses, then they have the same teachers, and so they're not crisscrossing the school. But it helps them to, whatever their interests are, to cultivate those interests so that they can see if they like something that they thought they liked, or if they didn't like something they thought they get one opportunity to change their career pathway during the high school year. But it's a game changer for them, because it allows them to really, many years we go to school and ask, why do we take this? And so this provides that opportunity to answer those questions for them.
Could I just add, I'd like to just add on to that from the business perspective, we worked for years, long before me, working with groups such as EMCC, and of course Mississippi State University is central to a lot of these efforts. We've also worked with groups like Forge, and if you're familiar with that, of course they're looking for young talent. They're looking for those graduates, high school graduates that are seeking a career, and we all understand the workforce issues that are out there these days, where most businesses are struggling for qualified and trained workforce. We see that in the Golden Triangle more so than ever. But programs such as the academic houses and what you hear from business community or business owners and small business owners alike is that this will provide an opportunity to match up the skills and the interests of the kids with what those existing real world today market opportunities are, whether it's culinary, whether, you know, when you live in a small college town, of course, that has 100 restaurants, you know, that's a huge issue, and it's a huge part of our economy. So it's really, really important. The academic houses are going to have a significant impact on what that means going forward.
And I'll tell you one quick story. We had Starkville Utilities came in and did a mock interview for students. And so one of our students had done so well in the mock interview that they offered him to come and interview for real. And so he ended up graduating with a job with Starkville Utilities. And so that's the goal for the academic houses, so those students can have those opportunities. Because as you know, everyone is not going to college, and so we want to make sure that we cultivate those students who plan not to go to college but can go straight to the work world and still live and have a successful life.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the different houses that you have, how y'all got those divided up?
Oh, sure. I thought our time was running out.
We're getting close.
Okay. So 3 academic houses that we have. We have the Tech House, which is Technology, Engineering, and Construction. We have the CAB House, which is Communication, Arts, and Businesses. And then we have the 8 Square House, which is Health and Human Services. And so in our building, again, is divided up. Teachers are placed in those houses based on numbers, and the numbers are based on the number of students who've chosen the pathway into those career academies. And so luckily, and I know a lot of school districts across the state don't, but our CTE building is on the same campus as our high school. And so between the CTE building and the high school, we merge together to make sure that the students get all of those opportunities.
And I think our time is getting close, so I'm going to wrap us up. You know, we've talked a lot about partnerships here and a lot about opportunities in Starkville, and not everybody has a Mississippi State, and not everybody has a greater Starkville Development Partnership there. But in your communities, there are business and industries, and there are partnerships that you can form with those local school districts, just very similar to what these ladies talked about earlier. We're truly blessed to have those opportunities here. But search in your district for those opportunities for boys and girls, because it is about relationships and opportunities to make kids successful. So thank you for letting us come and share a little bit today.
As students, we want real-world, authentic experiences. Experiences that will help us be better prepared for what comes after high school.
In Starkville, our schools have partnered with educators, employers, and community leaders to implement a new approach to high school education.
Together, we are transforming our high school, strengthening the connection between what we learn in the classroom with what we may do after graduation, making learning more meaningful and giving us the skills we need to be college and career ready. We call this transformation the Academic Houses at Starkville High School.
The academic houses allow us to choose a thematic course of study, such as engineering, health science, arts, and more.
We will take general education courses such as math, English, science, and social studies, but they will be taught through the theme of our academic house. Incoming 9th graders will enroll in Freshman Focus, where they will learn the skills necessary to be successful in high school. Then they will choose an academic house and pathway for their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years. Choosing a pathway, such as the sports medicine pathway, within the Academic House of Health and Human Science is like choosing a college major. These pathways are smaller learning communities that provide all students with a sense of belonging and help us develop strong student-teacher relationships.
No matter what academic house or pathway we choose, our courses will relate to real problems being faced by real companies.
Opportunities like job shadowing and internships will provide hands-on experiences that will help us understand career options and provide increased technical and soft skills.
We use research on high demand, high wage, real job opportunities in our region, and student, teacher, and community input to determine the academic houses offered.
By leveraging our personal interests, school becomes more relevant and will increase our academic achievement, attendance, and graduation rate.
Our goal? Ensure all graduates have the opportunity to enroll in a college or other post-secondary option, enlist in military service, or become employed in a sustainable career with opportunities for growth.
Most importantly, it will prepare us for excellence in an ever-changing world.
For more information, visit www.starkvillesd.com/academic-houses.
That is such exciting information. We appreciate that. I have a ninth grader who is having difficulty in realizing why he needs to go to school. So some of y'all may experience that also. In January of 2016, we lost Jack Reed Sr., an amazing individual. He had achieved unparalleled records of service to our region. Jack was a founding board member of CREATE. He served as its chairman and was also one of the original members of the commission, and he served as chairman there also. As a way to perpetually remember this great regional leader, the CREATE board established the Jack Reed Sr. Northeast Mississippi Community Leadership Award. It's presented annually to individuals, organizations, and businesses who have demonstrated extraordinary leadership in helping to improve the quality of life of their community. Recipients of the award have demonstrated vision, integrity, and commitment to the excellence of the overall region. That was Jack's way. I want to recognize the Reed family here today. His daughters Camille Sloan, Catherine Mize, his son Jack Reed Jr., and Scott Reed, and also his son-in-law Buzzy Mize. This is the 6th year for the Reed Award. This year's recipient has a significant contributor to the success of Corinth and Alcorn County. They each year lead the Christmas Food Basket Drive and have done so for over 30 years. They play an important role in the formation and support of the Commission on the Future of Alcorn County. Their staff volunteers throughout many community service areas. There's just a few ways that this business makes a difference. Clayton Stanley, president of the Alliance, says, "The Daily Corinthian has been the strongest partner the Alliance has since its inception. The importance of a daily newspaper in any town is hard to quantify, but the role of the paper that this paper has played in our community development is quite astonishing." I would like to ask Reese Terry, publisher of the Daily Corinthian, to come forward and receive the Jack Reed Sr. Community Leadership Award.
I'd just like to say on behalf of the staff of the Daily Corinthian, we're very appreciative of this award. It's a great honor to be recognized for helping to make the communities where we live and work a better place. So again, thank you.
Well, you know, I want to take just a moment to say, as a person that won that award last year. I was so taken aback and surprised, I didn't really get a chance to say thank you for that award. It's a very high honor in my life to be in that group of people. Thank you to the Reed family and to the Create Board for that. And recognizing the Daily Corinthian is a wonderful thing. Community development is a big team project, and I appreciate everything that is being done. Okay, so if you have not been inspired by today's presentation, then you shouldn't have come here. And the real question is, what you gonna do about it? You just gonna leave here today and say, man, that was all right. And you're gonna go back to your community and say, I wish we had it going on like they do at Starkville. You know, that's probably the best thing to come out of Starkville, Mississippi since Lewis Whitfield left school there. You know, it's just an amazing process. It's amazing and inspiring for me, and I hope for everybody that has been here today, to get the feeling that this is the state of the region. This is the state of the region that you live in, that you work in, that you play in, that you educate in. It's special. It's special to be in this region. And the challenge leaving here today is to do something about it. Be a part. Don't just go home and say, you know, that was great. Be a part. Do something about it. Now, you got to give of your time and talents to make things happen. And you're not just making things happen for today, but you're making things happen for generations yet to come. That should be your inspiration. Okay. GT, you knocked it out of the park, buddy. Mike, the whole thing, it was a great deal. Y'all are rock stars. And I appreciate the format that you did today. I think it was a very learning opportunity for a lot of people. And I hope that that's what you get from it. Now we got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we adjourn. Commission members, Create board members, and today's speakers will leave here and go directly across the hall. Is that right? Directly across the hall. Check in with Dana, and we will have our quarterly commission meeting. All Corinth and Alcorn County people, please assemble in the lobby next to the media station for a group photo with the Daily Corinthian newspaper. All Alcorn and Corinth people over by the media station. Once again, I can't tell you, you know, the program, the three ladies and Aaliyah, how special of them to give of their time and talents for what they do in their communities. That's got to be an inspiration. And then to see what's happening in Starkville. And I got to say one thing. The Districts of Innovation application that they're making and that is working through the state of Mississippi in several different places. Old Dizzy Dean said a long time ago, it ain't bragging if you really done it. And the Districts of Innovation started with the Commission on the Future of Northeast Mississippi. That's where the inspiration came from. That was the driving force that sent it to the legislature to get it passed. Legislators, thank you for coming. I do want to mention one thing. Did you hear the superintendent, Dr. McGee, say that we need to work on the accountability model? Now, he wasn't just talking to some of us. He was talking to members of the legislature because you're the only one that can do anything about the accountability model. And I have yet to go to a meeting anywhere where parents and teachers and everybody in the room agreed that something needs to happen about the accountability model in Mississippi schools. So legislators, I've been one. I know you don't like to have, this is constructive criticism, guys. Fund the schools and get out of the way. And your communities will take care of public education. That concludes the State of the Region meeting. Thank you so much for coming.